Have you ever had one of those days when the heat is almost unbearable, but you find a peaceful, refreshing escape right in your backyard? That was today. With temperatures soaring to a blistering 103 degrees, there couldn't have been a more perfect excuse to dive, figuratively and almost literally, into some much-needed pond maintenance. And let me tell you, there's something incredibly satisfying about wading into cool water, surrounded by lush greenery, and giving your pond the love and care it deserves. Today wasn't just about cleaning, it was about transformation, rejuvenation, and reconnecting with nature in the most hands-on way possible. The location? Absolutely breathtaking. Standing at the edge of the pond, listening to the soothing sound of trickling water, I couldn't help but pause and take it all in. That kind of serenity is rare, and I felt lucky to be immersed in it. As I stepped closer, I knew exactly what needed to be done. The plan was simple: start from one end and work our way across, grooming plants, pulling out those that had overstayed their welcome, and even introducing a few new beauties from the high tunnel. Aaron, ever the teammate, was already prepping the power washer to tackle the rock edges, aiming to strip away that stubborn string algae that loves to cling to every nook and cranny. We began by inspecting the plant life. Forget-me-nots cloaked in green algae, irises with tired, browning leaves, and water lilies trying to hold their own. Some of them needed grooming, others needed to go. It was time for a refresh. I could see the bottom of the pond in several spots, which was a hopeful sign, but there was still plenty of work ahead. I was especially excited about my new pair of chest waders. After an unfortunate experience earlier in the season involving mouse droppings, yes, you read that right, I was relieved to slip into something more comfortable and hygienic this time around. These fit like a glove, making the job easier and the water more inviting. There's a certain energy in watching koi and tilapia swim by as you work, their colorful bodies flickering beneath the surface like living jewels. The lilies bloomed around me, and baby fish darted through the clear water. It felt like working in a living painting. As Aaron fired up the power washer, the cleaning process began in earnest. Standing in the shallow areas, we began removing the algae from the rocks, revealing the natural texture beneath. The shallow spots were especially rewarding. Once caked with string algae, they were now being reborn, stone by stone. The water clouded momentarily, a murky testament to our progress. It would settle by evening, but for now, it looked like chaos. Still, this was necessary, the temporary mess that precedes the magic. One unexpected challenge was catching a few of our tilapia to move them into the upper pool, a recommendation from our friend Greg. They were fast, slippery, and surprisingly smart. Still, after a few comical attempts, and a bit of teamwork, we managed to capture and relocate them safely. They seemed hesitant at first, but eventually, they adapted to their new space. Watching them explore reminded me why we care for this pond so attentively. These aren't just fish, they're part of the ecosystem we've cultivated with our own hands. Plant grooming was, surprisingly, the most fulfilling part of the day. Stripping away dead leaves and overgrown foliage made an immediate visual difference. The iris beds looked vibrant again, and areas once tangled with algae and decay were now open and breathing. It's incredible how a few careful snips can completely rejuvenate an area. I stood back and admired our work, even as the sun beat down. The new waders trapped heat like a sauna, but the cool water at my feet kept me grounded. We weren't just removing plants, we were adding some flair too. From the back of the gator, I pulled out a trio of stunning tropicals, 2 varieties of Colocasia, elephant ear, including the dramatic heart of the jungle, and the cupped leaf, coffee cups, along with a bold Queen Tut grass. While they might be unexpected guests in this pond, their architectural foliage brings a playful, lush vibe. After carefully removing the soil and rinsing the roots, I found the perfect protected nook, shielded from wind and buffered by Russian sage and other plants, where they could thrive. Nestling each plant into the pond felt like placing pieces in a living puzzle. One by one, I gently removed rocks, tucked in the root balls, and covered them back up. And just like that, the pond had a new face, more exotic, more textured, and infinitely more beautiful. Each placement felt intentional. It was a creative moment that combined art with nature, crafting a new vision for this watery haven. Of course, with all this action, I managed to drop the GoPro in the water. Classic. But luckily, it's waterproof, and survived the plunge. The day carried on with more grooming, rinsing, cleaning, and capturing footage of our progress. Aaron and Paul worked tirelessly to clean the rocks and capture more tilapia. The air grew thick with heat, the kind that makes you feel like you're wrapped in a warm blanket, even in the shade. But we pressed on, driven by the vision of what this pond could look like once we were done. By the next morning, the transformation was clear. With a gentle breeze in the air and the sun filtering through the trees, the pond looked completely revitalized. The edges of the rocks, once coated in fuzz, now gleamed cleanly in the light. Algae clumps were gone. The water was clear. I saw tilapia swimming peacefully, their silvery bodies slipping between the rocks. They were calmer now, no longer startled by our movements. Everywhere I looked, there was progress. The once brown irises now stood tall and fresh. The lilies were vibrant, and I could spot the new plantings already settling into their spots. The elephant ears looked especially striking, their large leaves fluttering softly in the breeze. They'd found their perfect corner of the pond, shaded and safe, just as I'd hoped. And the wildlife? It was teeming. Birds stopped by to drink. Dragonflies zipped through the air. And the pond's inhabitants, from fish to frogs to insects, all seemed to be in sync with the rhythm of the clean, healthy water. Even Benjamin joined in the joy, completely captivated by the visiting birds. He's developed a keen interest in birdwatching, naming them with precision. That's an American robin, or, no, Mum, that's a Eurasian collared dove. He even asked to travel so he could add more species to his birding app. His excitement is contagious, and it's those little moments, seeing the pond inspire not just peace, but curiosity and learning, that make every ounce of effort worth it. Looking around, I realized this wasn't just pond maintenance. It was a reset for the landscape and for our spirits. A hot summer day turned into an experience of beauty, calm, and achievement. There's nothing quite like the feeling of standing in cool water, surrounded by the life you've nurtured, knowing you've helped it thrive. The pond isn't just water and plants. It's a living world, and days like this remind me of how magical it really is. So, thank you for joining us on this journey. Whether you're here for the gardening tips, the fish wrangling antics, or just the peaceful vibes, I hope you felt a little of the joy this pond brings to our lives. Until next time, stay cool, stay curious, and take care of the beautiful space